Hello everyone, and welcome to another video by Centipede Geek. Today, we're going to talk about some of the films you should definitely avoid in the month of April. Now, I know May is now here, so I have to wait until, April is over so all the films can come out. That way I can see all of them. Anyways, we have 3 films that you should definitely avoid in the month of April in 2012. Now, the first of these is actually a film that came out in theaters a few weeks ago. And it's not that the film is terrible, but it's just too cliche to even be liked. And the film I am talking about is The Lucky One, the film stars Zac Efron and some girl that I have no idea what her name is. But let me tell you about the plot of the film. The Lucky One basically, is another book by, Nicholas Sparks. This guy does tons of books, tons of romance books, a little too many for my taste, and it seems that every book he makes comes out into a movie. I'm a little tired of the guy, to be honest. Anyways, the film is basically about Zac Efron's character is like a military guy that is across seas, and he's in the middle of like a war zone, and he finds a picture on the ground, and he picks up this picture, and he decides that when he gets back to America, he's going to thank this girl in this picture for saving his life, because now he keeps the picture as sort of his like godmother kind of thing. He keeps it there, and he feels like the picture keeps him safe. So now his duty is to go find the girl. So once he gets back to the United States, he's asking everyone in their right mind, who is this girl? Where is she? Where can I find her? All those kind of questions. Anyway, so he's walking around asking these people. Finally, he ends up finding her, but the thing is, he doesn't end up telling her right off the bat. So you can, and if you think I gave anything away, I didn't, because you can find all that out in the trailer for the film. Anyways, that's the just plot of the Lucky One, starring Zac Efron. Now, as for my opinion of the film, it's not that the film is terrible, because, I guess if you like those romantic kind of films, it has its moments if you like that kind of stuff, but there's so many films out there already like it that it's too hard to even like. There's The Vow, Dear John. There's so many films, The Notebook, but although The Notebook is decent, like I said, so many films, like, The Last Song, so many films that are already like this film, where not that romance films are bad, it's just that they need to have something else in them, something else going for them, and they need to be done better and not so in a cliche manner. When films like this are done in a cliche manner, where it's the same thing all over again, there's nothing you can really take from it. It's one of those films that, after watching, you're like, nothing too memorable about it. So what I like to call The Lucky One is better off avoided. Another film that you should probably just skip out on this month, or I guess last month, is a film called The Darkest Hour. And if you don't know what The Darkest Hour is, it is basically an alien sci-fi film, I guess with some horror vibes to it. But The Darkest Hour is pretty much about, it takes place, I believe, in Canada, in Moscow, or not Canada, excuse me, in Moscow. Anyways, one of the decent things, well, let me tell you about the plot before I, get myself sidetracked. It basically is about these 2 guys that have some sort of website they are running. They're like businessmen, and they try to pitch their idea to another guy, and the guy doesn't like it. He pretty much, tricked them, and they are now, without a job. So now they go to a nightclub to drink, do that kind of party, that kind of thing. And while they're it seems that these orange kind of jellyfish-looking things start to fall from the sky, and you really can't see them. That's the way the aliens are. You cannot see them, and you can't really see them in this film, at least not at this point. Anyways, they start to fall from the sky, and they have to pretty much fend themselves off from the aliens. And it's pretty much about these 2 guys and about 2 girls, and I think another guy. About pretty much these 4 or 5 people that are trying to outrun the aliens in this film. Now, once again, as with the Lucky One, the film's not terrible, but there's nothing too memorable about it. Let me tell you some of the pros about the film. It does have a few good things going for it. Then I'll tell you about the cons. But first, the pros. It is kind of cool in the film. The aliens react to electricity, like the alien like float near them, and then like some of the light bulbs and stuff in places will sort of flicker and flash, signaling that the alien is nearby. That was kind of interesting, not too memorable though, but kind of an interesting concept. That's pretty much, and the whole way you can find all this out in the trailer. When the people disintegrate, that was kind of interesting too. I like the way that was done. But as for that, those are the only two things that the film has going for it, at least for me. Now let's talk a little bit about the cons. The two main actors I couldn't take very seriously. They're supposed to be like these, middle-aged businessmen, but they look more like teenagers. Maybe it was just me. I don't know. Let me know on the comment board. Let me know what you guys thought about The Darkest Hour. Like I said, they look a little like teenagers. Also, just the film was like a little boring. There's just not a lot going on. All they're doing is running around. I didn't think there was enough going for The Darkest Hour. I gave it a chance, and The Darkest Hour failed for me. Like I like to say, better off avoided. The last film is probably the worst out of these three, because I would definitely pick The Lucky One and The Darkest Hour over a film called Theater Bazaar. And at least in the horror universe and on websites like Fangoria and Horrid, Theater Bazaar has gotten a lot of praise. Because Theater Bazaar brings in 6 different directors with 6 different stories. It's an anthology film. And it's not a very good film. Tom Savini, the director of the Night of the Living Dead remake, and he does a lot of the makeup for the, those zombie films. Anyways, he directed one of the segments, and that was the main reason I checked it out, and I was very disappointed after watching, Theater Bazaar. Now, Theater Bazaar is, like I said, 6 different stories, and before each story, they have like a little introduction, like anthologies always do, like, Tales from the Crypt, stuff like that. Anyways, has a little way to start it off, and the bad thing is about this film is that the ways, because what happens is, those, if you guys don't want to watch, I'm not going to give any spoilers, but I'm just going to tell you the way they introduced the film, so if you don't want to watch, spoiler alert is ahead. Anyways, back to Theater Bazaar. So the way they started off is this girl, this is not the actual movie, this is just the way they start the movie off. The girl walks off into a theater, and there seems to be a puppet in there, and this puppet can talk, and he's not lively at all. He like walks around, like this, he's a puppet. Anyways, he talks about each short film before the film actually comes on, and after the film he kind of gives you advice, that kind of thing. And the bad thing was that part was actually done pretty well. The whole introduction of the films was actually better than the actual films themselves, and I thought that was just, bizarre that it was even like that. But, the film is called Theater Bazaar. Anyways, if you don't know, the film is based off an old play, I guess, like an actual stage play. Anyways, the first story is about a toad mother. This guy is starts to read like these necromancy books. He starts to, look through these books, and he gets a little curious about the rituals and stuff, so he goes to meet this nun. And, he starts to get curious about this whole toad mother thing. Anyways, kind of hard to tell you about the plot without just telling you the whole thing, so I'm not going to say any more. That's first story. I'm not going to say all the stories. One of the more memorable ones, though, is it was actually a decent story in Theater Bazaar, where this girl believed that she could take the memories out of people by getting a certain liquid out of their eye, and she believed, because the whole expression, right before you die, your life flashes before your eyes. Everyone knows that expression. Well, in this story, that actually exists. There's a certain liquid on your eye that whenever your life flashes before your eyes, you're actually able to get that liquid out, and she, injects her eye with it. And she is now able to see that person's whole life and their memories and everything just through that liquid on their eye. I thought that was a very intriguing concept. She has like a little book that she writes things down in, that was a pretty good little short story there. Not amazing, but it was a pretty cool one. One of the better ones. There was another one about this little girl who had asked all these questions about life and about death to her mom, because what happens was, it's not a very complicated one, but it's just one of those more in-depth and, I guess you could say, stories of life kind of things. And anyways, there's a wreck that happens and someone ends up hitting a deer, and she asks, all these questions about the deer and about death, and that was a pretty good, well done little story too. But then they had ones, the whole Toad Mother one was just the. Then there was one at the very end that was also It was about this club that was like obsessed with food, so this couple kept like feeding each other. The short story is called Sweets. Anyways, they kept like feeding each other. Really bizarre ending. It's just So overall, there are about 3 good stories in the film and 3 bad stories. So it's like 50-50. If you do end up watching it, you'll see what I mean. Maybe you'll actually end up liking all 6 stories. I could not. The whole reason I even checked out Theater Bizarre, it actually came out on DVD just a few days ago. Anyways, the whole reason I checked it out was because of Tom Savini directed this segment, and because the film was supposedly supposed to make people faint and like puke during it. Now, when I read that in the article, I was like, really? I'm gonna faint after watching this? I don't think so. How can I actually lose consciousness after watching a film? Anyways, I saw the parts that, were supposedly to make you, faint, and I didn't faint, but I was pretty disgusted after watching some of these parts. Anyways, Theater Bizarre is better off avoided. If I had to pick a worst out of The Lucky One, Darkest Hour, and Theater Bizarre, it would definitely be Darkest Hour. And if I had to pick a best after this total bag of just pure on crap films, if I had to pick the best one, it would probably be The Lucky One, because The Lucky One, well, yeah, The Lucky One, is the most tolerable, because, I could say that maybe Theater Bizarre is the most, I would say the best one would probably be Theater Bizarre. Like, the best and worst is probably Theater Bizarre, because, like I said, 3 good stories, 3 bad stories, but the thing is, those 3 good stories can't make up for the 3 bad ones. Anyways, those are the 3 films this month that you should definitely avoid. So just don't watch them. If you can, just find it at a friend's house, that kind of thing. Anyways, Lucky One, Darkest Hour, and Theater Bizarre. Definitely do not watch these. That's what films to avoid, and I'll see you guys next month with another Films to Avoid video.